we'll see if we can make it happen.
Cool. Well, I think we can get started here. Thanks everyone for joining us. Very honored to have Monica Quaintance, the head of research at Kadena, joining us today. For those that you don't know, very happy to have the Kadena community here, the Chainlink community, and the overall blockchain community with us. And I guess to get started, would love to, if Monica, you want to maybe just introduce yourself to the community and maybe explain a little bit about your background.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Monica, and I've been doing my thing at Kadena for not quite, about 3 years now. We've been around the block as a scalable proof-of-work blockchain project. And before I was at Kadena, I was working as a senior data engineer at an e-commerce startup. And then before that, Will, co-founder Will, he and I worked at JP Morgan. Oh, sorry. He was working at JP Morgan. We worked together at the SEC. And then before that, I was an investment banker. So it's been kind of a wild ride. I was working in this data engineering role. Will called me up and he's like, look, I'm leaving JP Morgan and I'm starting a blockchain company. Do you want to come? Do you want to come make a public blockchain? I was like, well, I've never made a blockchain before, but I know a lot about data engineering, so it sounds great. Let's do it.
Very cool.
It's just been a wild ride since then.
Yeah, so I saw that you worked at the SEC previously, so I'm sure there was like a lot of conversations about blockchain and cryptocurrencies that were happening there. And then is that kind of what got your interest sparked, or how did you get into blockchain itself?
Yeah, well, Will was on the blockchain committee at the SEC, and then at JP Morgan, he and Stuart were in the group that did tech vetting, like basically looking into, should we use this technology, should we not use this technology? And so they evaluated a lot of blockchains. They were like, wait a minute, we could make a better blockchain than this. This doesn't do any of the things that we would want to do if we actually wanted to use this. It doesn't scale, it isn't fast, it's hard, it's cumbersome to use, it doesn't seem safe, like the language that people programmed on it is confusing. We could do better than this. So that's when Will called me and he was like, all right, we're building a blockchain. Do you want to come? I was like, okay. So it's been, learning everything from how are we going to put this protocol together to building a team to figuring out exactly how to position ourselves in the marketplace. And we're a bunch of engineers that are passionate about building something awesome and hoping that our passion for actually building stuff that we would want to use translates to other people wanting to use it. That's been the goal all along, is build something that we would want to use because we all have actual production experience building software. And so if we were going to build production tooling on top of a blockchain, this is what we would want to use.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, no, that's really interesting background. And those for you that are just joining us. So about the first 30 minutes, we'll do a quick Q&A chat with Monica Quaintance, who is the head of research engineering at Kadena. If you have any questions, definitely drop them into the YouTube chat, and then feel free to join the Kadena and Chainlink channels afterwards, and we'll be happy to answer them. So yeah, I think what would be interesting is, what do you think stands out about Kadena blockchain? Kind of what you're just kind of talking about, and what makes it different, and what is your kind of like goals, and what are you working on at the moment?
Mm-hmm. Really, our goal is to give people the full, complete user experience for building on a blockchain. Not, I want to use this, but it's not configured correctly, or I can't figure out how to make it work, or it's confusing, or, I pushed this contract out there, but it has a bug in it, and now I've lost a bunch of money and it's broken. Our goal is to make a single full-featured platform that allows you to do all of the things that you want to do. And all of the things, we mean we're a proof-of-work blockchain, so similar to Bitcoin. So we have all of the safety guarantees of proof of work and none of the governance concerns about proof of stake. We have a scalable proof of work blockchain, which for us means we have currently 10 parallel chains that are all pushing out transactions all at the same time. And by the end of this summer, we're slated to fork the network out to 20 parallel chains just to prove that we can, and that the network can keep growing over time. So you know that when you put something up there, it's going to be safe and it's going to scale. And then we have a smart contract platform on top. And our smart contract platform, we built our own language, but this isn't some sort of hacked together language. This is a built from the ground up, from first principles, formally verified language, because Stu used to write trading languages at JP Morgan. So this is a programming language designed for non-engineers to be able to do basically whatever they want in a smart contract, but it has a bunch of safety rails and guards on it so that you can't, accidentally lock up your funds in such a way that you can't get them back, and you can't make nonsensical smart contracts that will just spin forever and then burn up all your gas. And then we also have a developer IDE, which is also a wallet. It's called Chainweaver. And this software is designed for you to just be able to boot it up and click load, and it will load a bunch of example smart contracts for you. It will show you exactly how to push information out on the chain. You can manage your keys and accounts in it. And then we also have a bunch of other partnerships and integrations with other projects. So like we'll get to Chainlink, of course, because that's the future and that's where we're headed. But we've done an integration with Cosmos so that you can work with write the same smart contracts that you write for Kadena and also have them integrate via Tendermint onto the Cosmos network. We're putting out soon, I just finished the draft like 2 days ago, of a request for comment for the Polkadot community on our integration with Polkadot. So you can write the same smart contracts, put them on both Kadena and Polkadot. There's this whole world out there of really awesome, amazing stuff that we've built that is designed to be first designed around what the user needs, what the user wants, trying to make it super easy, super simple to write a smart contract that's 5 lines, 1-click deploy, formally verify that it's going to work before you deploy it to multiple networks, be able to talk to all of the networks, not worry about how expensive is your gas going to be, how is these transactions going to scale, is my application going to work on the kind of time scale that you need it to. All of those things, they just work. And our mainnet has been deployed for technically 6 months. I say it's longer because really we deployed the first version of mainnet on October 31st. So all of these other projects that are like, someday we're going to have this awesome whatever. Like, oh yeah, we say that we've launched, but really when you get down to it, they're not anywhere near mainnet. Our mainnet has already been up. We've already kicked the tires. We've already deployed 5 or 6 hard forks. The miners are on board. The community is on board. We have the software. We have the technology. So it's been exciting to see people actually coming to the party. Our token has been listed. We have trading volume. People are excited about the future of the project, and it finally feels like it's all starting to come together. It's a really good time.
Yeah, very exciting time. So you're coming up on a year of mainnet, and I think like it's important. So with like a lot of your users, like a lot of these are enterprise based, right?
Well, some of them. What's really cool is because Kadena has all of these hooks that you can put into other networks, we actually also have a private blockchain software. Not only do we work with Tendermint, which of course is at its backbone a BFT consensus, but we also have an enterprise grade super fast BFT consensus private blockchain. So you can deploy an application that is both public and private at the same time. And what that means is essentially you have a mini oracle in between your 2 blockchains, but because they both use the same smart contract layer, you can write a single set of smart contracts and they just talk to each other across this bridge. So you can have the public network and the private network all in the same application layer, and you don't have to worry about trying to make disparate technologies that weren't designed to work with each other work together. Our private and public blockchains they just work. That's why we call it a hybrid blockchain platform. So some of these projects, yeah, you could call them enterprise, but they also tie into the public blockchain, and like some of them are, it's always hard to talk about the things that you're working on when you're under NDA, but like real physical assets that get custodied, that get represented on the public blockchain. Yeah, I guess you could call that enterprise, but I wouldn't, because I would call it hybrid, because it's both a real physical asset that has implications for credit and lending and value, but then it's deployed on the public blockchain. It's
Yeah.
both.
No, I think like connecting anything that's in the real world into smart contracts and bringing it on chain is extremely interesting, and definitely where a lot of things are going. How do you, with these like smart contracts, and since it's a different, blockchain outside of Ethereum, how do Chainlink oracles fit into the Kadena platform, and how do you use decentralized oracles?
When I talk about blockchain to people that have no idea what blockchain is, which in rural North Carolina, by the way, is everybody. I tell them that in some ways, our blockchain network is like a giant brain. Like, it stores data, it executes commands, it has memories, you can recall information. And if you think about that model, then having Chainlink oracles is basically like giving your brain sensory input. It's giving it eyesight, it's giving it sound, it's giving it, and instead of just being locked in a box without, or like a dark room with no input, finally you're giving yourself actual information in order to be able to make decisions. From a like financial perspective, being able to tie into Chainlink oracles is like, turning on a light bulb for the first time. You can finally make real world decisions about things like, the easiest one that everybody talks about is, what is the price of this asset? Like, if you want to trade across chains, like if you want to be able to swap Kadena for Ethereum, then you need to know what the prices of the respective items are at any time. And you can just be constantly making these little calls. But it goes far beyond just, pricing information for assets. It can be everything from, what is the weather, to what is my sports team doing, and these kinds of applications that we really want to see from a growth perspective of where we want to see the distributed economy go. It could be something like, if you wanted to do insurance swaps, or if you wanted to do apartment hunting and pricing, then you could have an oracle for all kinds of different price feeds. Basically, any data that you ever wanted to make a decision on, ever, you can tie onto the blockchain, but you have to have a way to get it there. So that's why we were super duper excited about Chainlink. It's been a long time coming, the goal of, okay, now that we've turned the system on, now we need to connect all of the things to the system in order for people to actually have the kind of user experience that we want. Everything always comes back to, we want to make people feel like it's easy to use this. And part of that is, it's easy to just go out and be like, hey, what's the price of Ethereum right now? Ping. Hey, what's the weather in New Delhi right now? Like, ping. You can just go out and grab whatever information you need. It starts to feel much more like the Web 2.0 user experience, but you get all of the benefits of blockchain, the true attestation of who did the thing, the depth of custody, the signatures, all of the benefits that you get from using blockchain without having to sacrifice for centralization, without having to sacrifice your security. I want to give people the kind of user experience that right now they have to sacrifice their privacy and the underlying methodology of how things work. We want to give them a choice, give people a choice to be able to actually use blockchain, because I think if you gave people a choice and the user experience didn't suck, then they would choose to use blockchain.
Right. No, yeah, those are some really interesting analogies I use with Chainlink that I don't think I've heard before. So yeah, thanks for those. The brain, that's definitely gonna go down. Looking at like the big picture, like what is Kadena's business model, and like what exactly are you like focused on? So there's a lot of kind of analogies and examples you used of like weather data, sports data, finance data. Where's the focus at right now with your team? And coming from a finance background of JP Morgan and the SEC, where do you guys focus on?
Yeah, it's the things that we're focused on right now is building out the infrastructure around the project to make it feel like a truly robust economy. the kind of pieces of infrastructure that you need in order to do real. I'm still kind of iffy on the term DeFi, but I guess I'll use it because everybody else is using it. Like the kinds of DeFi that you really want to do, like lending and banking and insurance and all these processes that right now feel really obfuscated, really difficult to access in the real world. Like, I've bought a house. It sucks. It's awful. Right. And there's no reason that it has to be so awful. Like, why aren't titles on a blockchain? Why aren't the kinds of assets and records that I need in order to prove my creditworthiness just on a blockchain? It's stupid. And if we ever want to get to a place where we can actually do that kind of thing, then we need, not only oracles, but we also need to prove that we can recognize real physical assets on a blockchain. We need to prove that we can move currencies from one place to another and not have to worry about it, that we can create in hand with governments the kinds of protections and clauses and have the kinds of real arrangements that are legal than binding. That, and so a lot of this is just like slogging through the process that it's going to take in order to, for us to get there. But we're equipped to do those things with, given our backgrounds, given that we know how processes work and they suck, but if we can get through them, I think that we could actually build a better place in which we're not having necessarily an adversarial environment with governments all the time, and instead we can find a place where we can move forward. Right. It's sort of like a long way of saying that basically what we're working on right now is ways of recognizing real assets on the blockchain. We have several people that we're working on in partnerships and supporting, and clients that come to us and say, hey, this is a thing we really want to build, will you help us build it? And most of those are focused on the currency, recognizing value, moving value. We're working with a like $3 billion asset manager because they want to have a new kind of asset. So these things take time, but they really are transformative, and they're going to be cool. I wish that we had more of like, sexy app type like crypto kitty stuff. But when people hear like, oh, they used to be bankers, they used to be what, they just come to us with like, we're an asset manager, we want to recognize assets. So like, that's cool too. But if you want to build like crypto kitties or something, just send me a DM and I'll be all over it. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, no, because I think like what's really interesting too about Kadena is like the technology behind it. And so you guys are still, you built it on a proof of work blockchain. And, a lot of people will say, well, if we already kind of looking towards like this proof of stake, that might be a little more scalable. Like what went into that decision making of using, a proof of work layer one, and what does that really mean? And how is this different than like a sharded blockchain, and how does that like help with all the examples that you did that you guys are working?
Well, I actually consider Kadena to be a sharded blockchain, because when you think about how people use the term sharding, what they really mean is you want to be able to process things simultaneously. You don't want a single threaded bottleneck. And so Kadena does do that. We have multiple blockchains that process transactions all at the same time. They actually, each chain has its own individual ledger, its own accounts, and the ledger for each chain is individually consistent. But then you can do cross-chain transactions, similar to the way that you might try to do a transaction from one blockchain to another with simple payment verification. You can do that from interchain from chain 0 on Kadena to chain 1. And so in that sense, we consider Kadena to actually be probably the first, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, the first public sharded blockchain. I'm gonna say that on camera. If you don't like it, message me and we'll debate it later. But so we, from that perspective, I think we are sharded. We chose proof of work because we figured out a way to scale it that we thought would work. And then later on, we proved it did work. Yeah. And we didn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like people are like, proof of work isn't scalable. We're like, but we think we can make it scalable, and then you don't have to lose all of the incredible innovation of proof of work. It's really mind-blowing when you think about what Nakamoto consensus is. It is the ability for anybody anywhere in the world, regardless of their previous participation in the network, to be able to be a block leader because you've just put in enough work in order to make the next block. You can't say that with any of these other networks where you have to like have enough tokens in order to prove that you have some kind of monetary investment in the thing. Like, you know who else has to prove that they have enough money in order to prove that they have investment in the monetary thing? Our current banking system with Goldman Sachs and, you know, all the other Wall Street bankers. That's what a proof of stake system looks like to me. It looks like an oligarchy where everybody who has the money just makes sure that they get to keep the money. So this is like a philosophical argument. But from a practical perspective, BFT consensus mechanisms are going backwards. We've been using BFT consensus mechanisms for data management since, like, you know, 1978. And Paxos and Raft and all those things that make up like the Google Cloud, and all they do management of all of their data and consistency management with BFT consensus mechanisms. So trying to do that, but just trying to do it in a decentralized way, feels to me like you're going backwards. You've taken what could have been this amazing revolutionary proof of work thing and then just been like, nah, let's go back to doing it the old way.
So you have like each of these chains, each of these shards, and then do you have validators for?
Nope, no validators. It's just all mining. Each chain is mined individually. So just think of it like 10 Bitcoins, 10 Bitcoin chains. They're all mining Bitcoin all at the same time. But when you finish a block on one chain, right now in the 10 chain network, each block contains not only the proof of its previous block, but also the proof of 2 other chains' previous blocks. So you have to, as a miner, get blocks, get proofs from 3 other chains, your own and 2 others, in order to include that information in your next block, which keeps the network in sync. It keeps it in consensus. Like if you generate a block and I generate a block at the same time, and then you then make another block, if you include yours and not mine, and then you make the next one, well, you have just validated your own previous block. I get nothing, and then I have to jump on top of yours, which then makes yours and mine from the previous layer valid. Anyway, it's a little confusing to talk about without diagrams because there are so many moving pieces, but we have like 1 billion explainer videos on our website, and we're always happy to talk about how Chainweb works, but usually I do
we'll drop those
diagrams.
Links. Yeah, we'll drop those links. It'd be cool. Also, we can do a meetup in the future too with the community and bring out some diagrams and some different things.
Yeah, and like people, all kinds of other protocol designer engineers have kicked the tires and tried to figure out how to break this thing, and they haven't figured out how to do it yet. So if you're the first one to do it, congratulations. But it's been up and running for quite some time now, so we're very confident that it actually does work and it actually does scale. Our block times are fast.
Yeah, can anyone become a miner? Is it ASIC mining or?
We do not have confirmed that we have an ASIC yet. I don't think we do. We have both FPGAs and GPU mining right now.
Okay.
So you can get on up there. We have pools if you want to join a pool. Otherwise, independent mining works too. Every once in a while, I'll just spin up a cluster on AWS to be like, hey, can I win any blocks? And I can. You can still win blocks.
Sweet. No, it sounds very exciting. What industry trends? I think we got time for a few more questions. Like, what are you most excited about, and where do you see this industry kind of going, especially like this year and then long term in like 2-3 years?
Yeah, it's been, because we spent so long building. We were heads down for a year and a half, almost 2 years, building on the things that we said we were going to build. Now we finally get to sort of poke our heads up and be like, hey, what's going on out there? And it honestly doesn't feel like a lot has changed in the last year and a half. It's still a lot of people talking about all the cool things that they would do if they had the kind of support that they needed. I was like, all right, well, let's make it happen. So we're finally getting to see people actually making the things that they always said they were going to make if they had the kind of layer 1 protocol that they needed. So, and that's been exciting to have people calling us up and being like, all right, we're sick of using what we've been using. It doesn't work for us. It's a pain in the butt. Like we have to load a bunch of stuff off chain because this thing isn't fast enough for us. We need to do a bunch of processing and then put it back on again. Like, can you help us do this on chain? Can you help us do this without having to jump through all these hoops? And we're like, absolutely, we totally can. So real estate stuff, finance stuff, credit lending. I really think MakerDAO is awesome, and I'm someday maybe we'll get to actually work with them. I want to build a cool decentralized bridge to MakerDAO, but like it's not on the engineering roadmap because we have 50 billion other things on the engineering roadmap. But maybe someday we'll make that happen.
Well,
My next
what are
goal
you?
is some kind of a stable coin on our platform. It's
Mhm.
just another integration that takes another hundreds of engineering man hours, but we'll get it done.
In regards to Kadena itself, what are you most excited about, and what actual like real world use cases are like being used right now at the moment?
Yeah, man, it's gonna be great. Unfortunately, the things that I'm the most excited about, we're still under NDA and I can't talk about them. But some of them are going to be like people actually using real consumer applications that are on top of a blockchain and they don't even know it. We put out a demo about a few weeks ago, actually, that showcases this particular technology of what we call gas stations. It's basically a way for an application designer to set a pool of tokens to pay for future transactions of future users so that future users don't actually need a blockchain account and they don't need a wallet and they don't need tokens in order to use your application that's based on a blockchain, which is one of the biggest hurdles to actually onboarding new users onto a blockchain application. So if you can actually have a smart contract that pays people's gas for them under certain conditions, then you can just send people a link to any web page, and that web page on the back end is actually a blockchain. So this goes back to this idea of like making it feel like Web 2.0, but not having to have people compromise on their principles in order to use the thing. So that we made a COVID tracking test result tracking application for well, hopefully we'll be getting out an actual partnership with that app soon. But right now we're trying to give it away for free. But we thought that it would be a timely thing and also a way to show that you can have people use a blockchain application and actually not have them know that they're using a blockchain application at all.
Cool. Do you see anything with like gaming that's happening with Kadena?
I haven't talked to anybody specifically about gaming, but I think that's just because people assume that we're not cool because we used to be finance people, even though I think we're really cool. So if anybody wants to do anything with gaming, like we're happy to help you out. And we are currently building a developer resource program with a send us a message and we'll give you wallets full of tokens so that you can actually test and deploy your application. And we're giving away gas stations so that people can run their apps without having to pay for gas. So if you're interested in any of those things, just reach out to us and we would love to see more gaming. Why not?
Cool. That sounds great. So where would be the best place for people to reach you after this if they have questions and want
Discord.
to?
We're all on Discord all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like VP of engineering hangs out there. Will hangs out there. I sometimes hang out there.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. We'll drop those links for everyone in here below. Is there anything else that you wanted to maybe last say?
I'm just really excited for the future. I think, times are hard right now, and God knows everything's been absolutely insane for the last 6 months. But it's also a really optimistic time. I'm feeling like we're getting into the place where we're really starting to see the fruits of all of our labor in terms of this awesome technology that we've built. People are being more open about collaborating with each other and making things happen. So I'm excited to see. I'm excited for people who want to build on a blockchain because now I feel like the user experience is actually good, and for the first time there's real opportunity there. I think it's gonna be good to see what happens in the next year.
Yeah, very excited too. And thank you so much, Monica, for taking the time.
Sure.
It was great talking with you. And really excited to see what happens with Kadena and all your progress, and definitely make sure to keep all the communities up to date, and we'll keep sharing with the Chainlink community. I think that wraps up our Q&A today. So I'll drop the links in this video afterwards, and then everyone join the Kadena Discord. If you have more questions, feel free to drop into any one of our channels, and then we'll be able to help answer those afterwards. Otherwise, again, Monica, really want to thank you. Want to thank Tony for helping organize everything on the back end on the Kadena side. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.